You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 215, baby. 215 coming your way. A lot to talk about tonight. It's going to be a good one. But without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Kelly, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way in St. Cloud, Minnesota, in Granite City Studios, Paul the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, things could have been a lot better during the day here, but in anticipation of the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight coming up here this weekend, I learned that the best sparring partner, well, is not really a towel dispenser at work, and let's just say my hand is really feeling it here in the last few hours. It's been a rough day at work. I got kids taking baths due to bodily functions that should not happening more than at least twice a day. I darn near punted my chair here before we got on the show with no socks on, and let's just say I made my evening cocktail a little bit stronger than usual because Daddy needs it. But hey, we're looking forward to a great show tonight.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that's probably one of your top intros to start the show, Voldy. I'm not gonna lie. That's perfect. I'm glad you mentioned that Jake Paul Mike Tyson thing. I just want to go on the record. I don't care for any of these Paul guys, these streamers, this guy turned to a boxer, things like that. I hope Mike knocks him out in the first round. I hope he just goes and knocks this dude out because I'm sick and tired of this crap with these Pauls, and they think they're so cool. They're boxing and doing wrestling. Just knock the dude out. Knock his ass out. Mike, please. Just do it. Anyway, with that being said, we welcome our guest to talk Minnesota Vikings football, our Minnesota Vikings expert, Mikey Ryan. Welcome back, Mikey. Yes.
Oh yeah.
How's it going,
Tough
Mikey? What? Give us a quick tease on what we're talking about with Vikes.
Oh yeah. No, the Vikings are, they're doing okay so far. Offensively, everything besides the quarterback position I think is okay. Even with the injuries, defensively, hey, I'm just saying my absurd statement, looking flawless right now.
Yep.
Looking flawless.
And to be fair, Voldy's isn't too far off either. I mean,
not far off.
It isn't.
Look,
Dude,
one bad game.
Yep.
One bad game, right? Jefferson, he's getting up there with the receiving yards. I just hope that Arnold can find him and go from there. So that'll be interesting. Anyway, Pick'em. We've got our Pick'em, I believe, unfortunately, another Mikey, not Mikey Ryan, but Mikey Lawrence is leading the pack.
Yes.
Congrats to him.
Running away with it.
He is. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's doing it. He's kicking ass, man.
He's already won 2 prizes already so far. Last week he won the tumbler. He won a hat earlier this year. I mean, pretty soon he's going to be head to toe MinneZona swag. So I mean, when he's already got the sweatpants, he rocks them all the time. It's crazy.
That was from the first annual Granite City Lumberjack show. He got them, he loved them, and all of a sudden he's still wearing them. This is fantastic. So shout out to him. But Voldy, we just talked before the show here. We didn't do a prize this week.
We did not.
But this week is a different story. Now, Voldy, we've done this type of prize before, and we waited a little bit, at the beginning of the season, things like that and whatnot. I got this jersey that I've been meaning to give to somebody that can get going, or that would like it. Now, you mentioned Mikey Lawrence. Mikey Lawrence, if you win the picks this week, you're coming home with Percy Harvin. Yes,
sir.
Percy Harvin. Yes, the white
God.
Percy Harvin jersey. Yes, I got to give this a better look just so you guys can take a look.
The old Reebok jerseys.
The old Reebok jerseys, authentic. Yes, authentic.
I got about 12 of them sitting in front of me right now. Actually, more than 12. But yeah, I've got a lot of those. Oh, those jerseys were great.
They are great. So, no matter if you're a Lions fan, Packer fan, Bears fan, shout out to Mitch. No, just kidding. I joke. But you're getting it no matter what. Whoever wins this week, you are getting a Percy Harvin jersey coming your way. So, migraines and all. Just kidding. But anywho, I don't mean to rip on Percy. He's good. He's amazing. So tonight we got the Vikings win against the Jags, the ugly win that we'll talk about, and then Mikey is also going to join us for the Wolves ownership arbitration concludes. No decision has been made, but we're going to quick talk about that, give our thoughts and whatnot, and go from there. No special segment tonight. But ARA, we got some good ones that Voldy's got cooked up for us. B-Flo would love to be a head coach again. Maybe we could get Mikey's thoughts on that while we're going here, too. I agree with that. And then you have Dave St. Peter out as Twins CEO. Falvey taking his job, and he's going to be as advisor. We'll talk about that. And I don't think we got to this last week just because we had Zappa on, but the College Football Committee unveils the first rankings. And then is this Sasaki or Saki?
Sure.
Sasaki.
Sure.
To be posted to the MLP. And then the Bears. I sent this to Mitch Ribby. He loves this. Bears fire OC Waldron. So I believe it's Mike, right? If I'm not mistaken. Mike Waldron? Shane Waldron? Wait, Shane.
Right? Shane, yeah.
Yeah, potato. Anyway.
I don't
know.
We're not Bears fans.
Yeah, we're not Bears fans. We're not irrelevant, so.
Exactly.
I can't wait till we play.
At least we could score a touchdown on offense. It's been
Boom!
3 games for them.
So we got that going for us. And then shield shoutouts. Voldy's got some shield shoutouts tonight. So enough of me talking all this time. Let's get it going with some Tator Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tator Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tator Tot Hot. Guess who's tuning in, Voldy and Mikey? Our guy, Mitch. It's Mitch. He says the slander.
Really?
It's deserved right
Mitch,
now.
hey, Voldy, I think we could set this up right now. Next week, Mitch Ribby on Talk Vikings Bears. What do we think?
Oh, for sure. We gotta have him on.
Oh, yeah.
So it's set.
Clear
Mitch,
your schedule, Ribby. I don't
yeah,
care.
clear your schedule. We got to talk Vikings Bears. I need to go back to the NFC North preview show and get all the absurd statements that Mitch had in that preview show. So Mitch says he's in. So there you go. He did the
Especially
3
that
fire
trash him
emojis.
telling me that the Vikings are going to finish worse than the Bears in the division. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Putting it out there.
I love it. All right, so let's get it going with our Minnesota Vikings. Probably the ugliest win of the season. We've seen Vikings and Las Vegas Raiders. That was probably the worst one I've seen, but this one is pretty close. The Vikings win 12-7 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Vikings did not score any touchdowns, but they did get 4 field goals. John Parker, not Tony, Romo, put in 4 field goals for the Minnesota Vikings to get the win. So we give him claps for that. But nothing much to write about from our quarterback position. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let's just do an overall analysis here of the game, just because we want to just kind of, start with that, and then we got to get to our guy, Sammy D, and talk about, are we off the bandwagon now with this performance, or is this a mirage, or is this the real Sam Darnold we're going to be seeing for the rest of the season? Who knows? So, Mikey, what are your thoughts on the game on Sunday? What do we got?
On Sunday? Yeah, I thought outside of the unforced errors that we had, throughout the entire game, I thought they played well. Defensively, yes, we let up the 1 touchdown. They seemed to bounce back, and they shut them out for the rest of the game there. Defensively wise, they played great. Again, it is the Jaguars, right? They didn't even have Trevor Lawrence starting. They had Mac Jones. So I don't know if that's what you would consider a good litmus test, but you don't pick the opponents. You don't have a say in how well they play. You just have to dictate your own play, which that's what they've been doing. They've been dictating on their terms what to do. Defensively, it's been great. Offensively, outside of the Sam picture, I thought they played fine. You need to clean up a ton of those mistakes. I am tentatively surprised at how well Cam Robinson has been able to step in and actually fill in the gap that we have Darisaw out now. I thought it was not going to be an implosion in the line, but I was going to notice a huge precipitous drop-off, right? I thought we were going to go from, we had arguably top 5, top 10 offensive line play to maybe we're in the bottom half now, but it hasn't been that case. They've rallied around each other and found ways to win those battles in the trenches and keep the play up and keep their performance up. And that's great. You'd love to see it. Our skill players all doing fine. And then we'll get to Sam. But I'm hoping it's just a fluke. I'm hoping it's just a 1-game thing where he regressed to being the Jets, but we'll see. This was an experiment this entire time, so it'll be interesting going forward. We have a game to kind of figure it out, and then we go back to division play. So, and
again, it's hard not to look at that point with Sam Darnold. So, I mean, the defense I thought was fantastic. B-Flo got them back into another, had another good game after playing well against the Colts. Granted, they are bad teams and whatnot, but at the same time, you're getting it done. I mean, you got to beat those bad teams. So, defensively, I really liked what I saw too. So, Shield, what do you got?
Just looking at the performance overall, I mean, one of the big things that kind of held this team back, the Vikings, I mean, really not having a 100% healthy Aaron Jones, especially in the back half, the second half for sure. I mean, sure, he was great right out of the gate. I mean, finished with 88 yards rushing. Then he's out for that little spell. Not having him and having to throw in Cam Akers. I mean, Tyson Chandler came in for a couple of decent rushes late in the second half. But even Aaron Jones started to gut it out, especially when they got the ball back inside the 20-yard line after another turnover. Having Aaron Jones 100% healthy is a huge difference for this team. First few games of the season, I mean, Vikings were just running the ball up and down the field. They were extending drives and setting up a lot of these big plays for, JJ, for Justin, for Jordan Addison too. And not having him fully healthy has been a big letdown for sure. But also now working in, and we talked a little bit about it as the show started, but having even a guy like Josh Oliver kind of step up in a couple of big situations, 4 catches, 52 yards, longest being of 28 yards in a game of which TJ Hawkinson was the leading receiver. That's been a really nice bonus, especially when you talk about the depth of this team. Of course, in the receiving core, then you start working in guys, Jalen Naylor, Trent Sherfield. Obviously, you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison too. But having that depth, especially at the tight end position, has been fairly decent. The Vikings, I'd much rather take an ugly win than a pretty loss. This one was definitely as much of an ugly win because there were multiple times that the Vikings could have put a nail in the coffin with just one touchdown. It's one touchdown against Jacksonville. Even when the defense really set them up, I mean, the defense won this game for sure. Defense and special teams. The offense, I mean, no real fault to receiving or rushing. Rushing's been a little bit hampered by injury. Receiving can only do as much as it can from the quarterback. And, of course, we'll talk more about, Sam Darnold and the way he's played here the last couple of weeks for sure.
All good points. The other things, and I want to throw some positive to this too. And the zoners, feel free to let us know your thoughts of the Vikings victory over the Jags. Let us know your thoughts. We will tell them on air here. The one thing that I really liked, guys, is TJ Hawkinson getting back in there full go and everything. The one thing that I didn't like is the amount of hits that he took. He took a lot of hits that were tattooed. He got tattooed a lot by these linebackers. Olakun is a very good linebacker and whatnot. I'm going to get to him in a second. But Hawkinson, I thought, did a great job. Him and Sam looked like they were getting in a rhythm. But not only was it TJ Hawkinson, but Josh Oliver as well, making catches left and right, one-handed grabs, catch at his feet. I mean, fantastic play from Josh Oliver. And again, these past 2 games, he's been on fire. So these teams are like, we ain't worried about him. Well, you might have to be now. So Josh Oliver, shout out to him. Voldy, you mentioned Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I thought, did well. Obviously had a little bit of the rib issue, came back in. A lot of people were saying that he probably shouldn't have went back in. I tend to sort of kind of agree because it's like, but if he says he's good to go, he feels good, there's no structural damage or anything, right, then maybe he's all right. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But Cam Akers coming in to help, and not only help, but put 33 rushing yards in relief of Aaron Jones. I mean, that's pretty good. And Ty Chandler got a couple good carries. That's something that we'd like to see. Offensive line, I thought, did okay. Darnold's only sacked once, but let's get to the bad here. We already talked about the defense. Byron Murphy with a nice interception. Can't bind him. How about that Sully? That was crazy.
Oh yeah,
in the end zone, just doing the ray gun?
Shout out Ray Gun.
Yeah,
Shout out Ray Gun.
Shout out
The
Ray
recently
Gun.
retired Ray Gun.
Recently retired. I didn't know that she was retired. Okay.
Oh yeah. She's hanging them up. She's hanging
them up. Okay, gotcha. But let's talk about the bad here, and non-Sam Darnold. That's what we're talking about next. The bad is, again, I feel like sometimes I love KOC. We all love KOC here. I feel sometimes we get a little too cute sometimes. When things aren't working, we do the trick play stuff. They tried to do that again, and I immediately was like, this is a disaster. Sometimes it works, but most of the time, it really doesn't work. We don't need to get too cute. You just need to rely on your guy, and that you got to rely on Darnold to get it done. You were running the ball effectively during this game. 17 carries for Jones, 13 for Akers. Sam ran a couple times, 7 of 28, and then Ty Chandler, 4 of 18. Run the ball. It's fine. If it's not working in the passing game, run the ball, and then maybe you can open it up. But I'm not questioning his play calling or anything, but I feel like if the run game is effective, let's stick with it, right? Mm-hmm. But that was kind of the one thing that bothered me a little bit. The pre-snap penalties, I feel like, have really hurt them, especially when they have positive momentum. Then all of a sudden it backs up because, Brandel or Ingram or O'Neal, I think, had one where they did a false start, and it's like, great, now the momentum's back on their side, and now we're moving back X amount of yards, holding, things like that. But that happens every game. But I'm sick and tired of seeing that where we have this positive momentum going and then it gets backed up by a stupid-ass penalty that we do. So those are kind of my things to take away. John Parker Romo was fantastic. # not Tony. Our long snapper had one bad snap, but he was able to recover. Ryan Wright
bailed him out.
Out there, so that's
we had a new long snapper and a new kicker this week. Not too
right.
often you see that and actually come out with a win. That's
exactly.
Crazy.
All right, let's get to the elephant in the room here, and that is Sam Darnold. 24-38, 241 yards, and 3 interceptions. Could have been 4, called back by offsetting penalties, I believe. Yep. So, Mikey, I'm going to start with you. Let's discuss, and I'm just going to ask you point blank, and I asked this of the zoners as well. Are we going to be seeing the same old Sam Darnold? Because this was Jet Sam Darnold, I feel like, on Sunday, unfortunately. Is this a sign of things to come? Because, again, Indianapolis wasn't great as well, but they were able to get it done. I mean, is this just kind of a mirage, or is this hey, here's the reality situation, this is what he is, teams figuring him out, or he's just, that's what he does, throws bad interceptions? What do you think, Mikey?
So I think it's not a combination of him, this is in his repertoire plus teams figuring it out. I think it's just in the beginning of the season, there was no expectations really on him, right? There a lot of the times this team was like, hey, depending on his play, it's this is either a playoff team or this is going to be, they're going to fight at 500 and, try to squeak into the playoffs or maybe just try to avoid going under 500 kind of team. With us doing so well, being 7-2 right now, fighting for not only the division but potentially a playoff bye. I think a lot of the times it feels like Sam is trying to play hero ball a lot of the times where he really shouldn't or doesn't need to do it. This team is good enough for him to not play game manager, but more like he's playing kind of like a Brock Purdy style of role where it's you are just getting the balls to the tools for those tools to just go ahead and do what they do best, right? They're going to make you look fantastic. You do not have to be, Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson. You don't have to be someone who is threading the needle into triple coverage and you're just that good so you can make those throws and it works out for you. You're not that type of player, unfortunately. It would be nice if you were, but you're not. I think I want to say it's not indicative of what's to come, but we have to keep it in our mind that he has this kind of play and not expect it going forward. I think KOC and the Vikings will figure it out. They'll be like, hey, we need to alleviate some of the pressure away from you, right? Because, almost 4 turnovers if it wasn't for the penalty, get you kicked out of this league real quick. And Sam's been there before. He knows what that kind of play is like, and he knows that you can't play like this, right? What was our time of possession? Like 42, 43 minutes?
42, yeah, 42
minutes,
20,
and you come out with 12 points. Like that's atrocious on all. And that's not just like, we love to place the blame on Sam, right? For that, and rightfully so. 3 picks, almost all of them in scoring opportunity for the most part, right? To where this game should have been a blowout from the second quarter based off of how they played like outside of the red zone. But then when you get into the red zone or near scoring opportunity, he was throwing up prayers. It felt like, the one JJ pass where JJ thought he was going to the pylon in the back end, but he's throwing it across. It's like, that's an easy pick. Like you have to be on the same page with both JJ and yourself, So I think they're going to get this figured out. I think it's a good week to figure it out versus Tennessee, a not so great team. We should come out with a win either way of Sam's play. I think I'm hoping that Sam's play is not a factor in this game. Right. But you have a gauntlet coming after that, right? We have all our division opponents. They're all meaningful games. And we need to win. We need to win them all. To be quite frank, if we want to keep up with the Lions, the Lions, they find ways to win even in bad play. I mean, did you see the Sunday night game? Yeah, right. Jared Goff did the same thing. Yeah, Jared Goff did the same thing Darnold did almost. It was so many picks back and forth. They were playing hot potato with that football. Right. They find ways to win. The Vikings found a way to win in this game, which is good, but they were playing way inferior competition to what the Lions were doing. The Lions were playing a playoff team in the Houston Texans, and we were playing the Jags, who are going to be fighting for the first overall pick this year.
It's true.
So I'm hopeful for Vikings fans. I'm hopeful for this team that Sam will be able to turn it around, use this as a motivating factor going forward for the rest of the season in what to do. But I'm not overly confident that he's not going to have another game like this. I think it could happen, and hopefully it doesn't happen in a big game.
Right. One thing I want to add to that before I get to you, Voldy, and I think it's something that we have to be aware of, is that our defense can win us games. We know that, against bad teams. They're all in the division right now. They're only giving up 157 points. Next after that is the Chicago Bears. Then it's Detroit, and then Green Bay's giving up the most points. But again, this is a very stacked division. Very good defenses within that division. Now, the only thing that's going to hurt you, and the team that we play this upcoming Sunday in the Titans, Will Levis, he puts his team in precarious situations, interceptions, fumbles, this and that. Look, Sam he played kind of like Levis on Sunday, let's be honest. So
100%.
we can't do this against Tennessee because Tennessee's defense is actually pretty good. So, again, this comes down to the Vikings getting the job done, Sam Darnold being efficient, and not costing this team games. So, Voldy, anything to add to this?
I also looked at a little bit further into the numbers too, and one thing I did notice, Sam Darnold only got sacked once this past week, as opposed to the last few weeks where there's been pressure, where it's been 4 or 5 times a contest, and they've been fairly successful with that. I'm saying in the part where he's gotten sacked more, the team's won. He's gotten sacked less, the team has struggled in many different ways. So I don't know what the weird correlation is, if the pressure has made him kind of step up figuratively and literally and made plays, or if it's just that he's reverting back to, obviously, if he hears footsteps in the back of his mind and he's got to get rid of the football, and thus led to a few too many turnovers in the last couple weeks. I just find it funny how it has been to where he gets sacked more, the team wins. He gets sacked less, the team has struggled and barely comes out with a win, if not a loss, in the last few weeks. So I just found that was a funny correlation. And talking about, will he be able to get back into it? I certainly do think so. It really all stems off the first drive. We've seen it multiple times here throughout the season. You get that opening drive, whether it be a touchdown or any sort of score. After that, I've seen a lot. It's been 50-50, roll of the dice, if you will, whether it's going to be a successful following drive, or the Vikings are going to be 3 and out and have to punt the football after, moving the ball down the field. If they can get the offense going on that first drive with a touchdown or some sort of productive points, I think that's always been a positive for the Vikings. Building off of that, and like we've mentioned too, and getting a little too cute in a couple situations has really been a downfall for them here at multiple points. But I think going up against Tennessee, very similar situation with Jacksonville. I mean, they're underachieving in many different areas, and the offense has struggled. Quarterback has thrown the ball left, right, and center to the other team. But the defense for the opponent, they've got some playmakers, and certainly be something to keep an eye on. If like I said, they can protect Sam, they don't turn over the football, they get a win. It's as easy as that.
It's interesting because that's a weird stat, and he's usually good against the blitz, right? Mm-hmm. But when he has time, it's kind of a different story. So I agree with you on that. Let me add a couple things to this. So let's start with that first interception. Staring down Jefferson. Yep. A, you shouldn't do that. B, nope. Me personally, I don't know about you guys, and I'll ask the zoners as well, but that looks a little bit of illegal contact and or PI to me. But very again, close. I know you get 5 yards to, be physical with the receiver, everything like that, but it's a little past 5 yards, I feel like, and it seemed to me that should have been flagged, but that's a pass you shouldn't make. That it's that simple, and staring down Jefferson. And then let's go to our second one, which technically shouldn't have been an interception. Hits the ground. It's as clear as day. These referees are just idiots, apparently, when it comes to our Minnesota Vikings. But another throw you shouldn't make. And this is something to where there's a correlation here, gentlemen. Those first 2 were to Justin Jefferson, and then the third was to Justin Jefferson. So the third one, absolutely Sam Darnold's fault. In the wrong place, and really at the wrong time. You're in the red zone, man. If it's not there, throw it away. Just throw it away. And I feel like KOC is going to try and, do that with him. But again, he needs to understand that you don't have to be the hero. You don't have to be like Mikey was saying, like you were saying, Voldy. He doesn't have to be Mahomes. He doesn't have to be Josh Allen. Look, he is Sam Darnold, and we need that Sam Darnold from the first 5 games of the season when they were 5-0. And
Exactly.
he needs to just be that. And again, people don't like using the word game manager. I get that. But honestly, when you have the weapons that you have, you might as well could say it with Aaron Jones being very good.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it's worked for
Yeah.
Brock Purdy. Why can't we just kind of do that same deal? Now, so you have that, the 4th interception, even though it doesn't count with the penalties. You're chucking it up, like you said, Mikey, throwing up a prayer. You can't be throwing up a prayer to Addison and hoping that he comes down with it over a corner that was on him like white on rice. I mean, this doesn't make sense to me where you thought he'd be open, he'd come down with it. But I don't want to say, I'm not going to say that he's going to, learn from this, he's going to figure it out and everything like that. I think KOC, Wes Phillips, McCown need to go in and say, listen, man, you have an opportunity here to be, show off for teams. And again, I'm paraphrasing because you don't want to just say, well, you won't be here next year type of thing. But you have a chance to prove yourself here and show people that you can do this. But making these mistakes that you've made last week and with the Colts and everything like that, you can't make these. Because if that happens, we're sunk. I mean, let's be honest. Just throw it away, make the right play, hand the ball off to Aaron Jones. Again, they have the utmost confidence in him. If you've seen all the interviews and people talking about him glowingly and saying, listen, we're behind Sam 100%, everyone's saying it. Aaron Jones said it on Up and Adams the other day. And O'Connell's the same way. And it's nice to have that in your back pocket. Now, I don't think it gets any better if you put in Nick Mullins. If you put in Nick Mullins, that there's turnovers galore there too. Not saying that. I mean, he can move the offense, but he makes those stupid turnovers too. So we got that going for us. But don't force it to Jefferson. Stop forcing it to him because, again, it's not going to work well for you. It's not going to work well for the offense. Stop forcing it to him. Let it come in ebbs and flows. And he's going to get open. I mean, you're going to do a 50-50 ball here and there. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. But if it's one-on-one coverage, I'm throwing that up there. I don't care. I mean, this is Justin Jefferson we're talking here. And Hawkinson, if he kept going to Hawkinson during this whole game, we're talking about, like you guys said, a blowout. This is an absolute blowout. Hawkinson, Oliver. Let's rely on what's working that game. And it's like, well, I didn't get enough to Justin. Well, that's why there's next week. So, I still believe, I believe in Darnold. I believe he's going to learn from this. Now you go up against a defense that is pretty good in Tennessee.
Yep.
Now, the offense is absolutely pathetic. I mean, let's be honest here. It's bad. Their run game's okay. Passing game, Will Levis is just awful. And, I mean, this is a team that you should beat by multiple scores, too. And I know what I said last week. I thought it was going to be, but we all thought it was going to be a blowout, to be honest. But it was what it was. So, Mikey, give me your thoughts on this upcoming game against Tennessee. And do you expect I don't want to say big bounce back game, but a bounce back, just a very good bounce back game for Sam Darnold? What do you think?
Yeah, I not only can see it, I expect one, really, right? If we don't have a bounce back game this game, like you said, the Titans defense, it's nothing to sniff at. It's a good defense. But these are games you're expected to win, and you're expected to win in convincing fashion, So we need to have a convincing game, not only to get Darnold's confidence up, but the entire offense at this point, really. Because if you have another bad game, if it's another game where you're just struggling to get points on the board, and you're having to rely on the kickers. Not saying there's anything bad about that. Not Tony Romo did really well for his first kick, right? For his first game. We relied on him the entire time, and he got us the win. You like to see that, especially for Vikings kickers history. But if you have another game like the Jags game, it really sows doubt into the team to be like, can we perform when we actually need to perform, kind of thing. So I expect the bounce back game. I expect Sam to be good. I'm not going to say it's going to be like 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions kind of good, but I expect to see him, throw 2-3 touchdowns, getting like the mid 200s, maybe upper, a little bit upper for that. And protect the ball. If he comes out of this game with 0 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, I'm calling it a win. I'm calling it a win there, because he got his confidence back, and he'll need it going into the next couple games.
We'll definitely need it. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, a lot of the same points I was going to bring up as Mikey said too. Obviously, I said you protect the football, you give Sam time, and it'll work. I think bouncing back with the rushing attack and just getting that established early is going to be a big factor too. And just protecting the footballs, finding ways to extend plays without having to throw up a lot of those 50-50 balls that we saw last week in the last couple of weeks that have led to turnovers. We know the defense is going to come ready to play. I feel that the defense, like we mentioned, is going to win us games. This could be a very another one of those situations. The defense sets up the offense in prime position like they did last week a few times. Now you just build off that by getting the ball in the end zone. That's going to be a huge win for that, for the team too. And, just getting that consistent enough play from the offense, especially now, TJ Hawkinson with a really nice game last week. We know Josh Oliver has been contributing. Hopefully we can pick things up with the rushing game beyond Aaron Jones and get Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. We don't need to dive into the bag of tricks all the time. Like, we need to save some of those for the back end of the season. Let's keep the trick plays to 0 at the most. In that we don't need to see JJ throw the ball, at least once every other game. Let's save that a little bit further down the road. Let's give Sam the time that he needs to find Jefferson down the field, as opposed to Jefferson throwing a 20-yard in cut and hopefully that it's completed, if not a 3-yard loss. But I feel if they give them the time necessary for Darnold to step up and obviously find and connect with his receivers, it could be a good game, a really good confidence building anti-trap game, if you will, against Tennessee.
Anti-trap game. I love that.
Yeah. Last week was a trap game. I mentioned it last 2 weeks. It's been a trap game. But this is an anti-trap game. We need it. We need it back.
We'll have to do a full assessment next week when the Vikings play the Bears, if it is a trap game, when we have Mitch on here. So that'll be interesting. But, I think they're going to find ways, again, to get Jefferson the ball, Addison, Hawkinson, and whatnot. So, I expect a win, and, it's... Don't take them lightly. Just get the job done. That's all I care about. So, anyway, that'll do it for our Vikings talk. Fingers crossed on Sunday we get the dub. Let's quick go over, and Mikey's going to stay with us for one last one here. The Wolves ownership arbitration concludes. The Wolves finally are... The ownership dispute between Glentaylor, A-Rod, Laurie, the whole deal, it just seems to me that they're not going to be getting a decision here anytime soon. But, again, it just comes down to, look, they have the money. It's been reported that Laurie and A-Rod do have the money, and Glenn just kind of went rogue and just like, no way. And that's just kind of how it was. But, Voldy, give me your thoughts on the Wolves ownership dilemma here, if you will. What are your thoughts?
I mean, we talked about a couple weeks ago. I think we even mentioned it briefly last week when we had Zappa on the show too. Just talking about like the money is there. We've got most of the money. A-Rod, Lori, they even had to bring in Michael Bloomberg into the ownership group. $940 million just sitting right there. Bank account.
Straight cash, homie.
Quick type of a password into Glenn Taylor's account. Free and clear. $940 million. And apparently that's still not enough. $1.6 billion was the selling price for full control of the team. Now, A-Rod and Lori still have 40% of the minority stock and control of the team, so they're still involved. They're still in the ownership with Glenn Taylor. They just need that other 60% to come through. So it's the $600 million difference between the two right there. I feel like with this arbitration case now, noting that they have the money, it's in the bank account, quick wire transfer. I don't know how long it takes for $940 million to go from one bank account to the next. I would imagine it wouldn't take all that long from one to the next for Glenn Taylor. But I feel like with this arbitration situation that's going on, and apparently it's going to take some time for the ruling to come through. I know that we mentioned what happened before the end of the calendar year. Not a lot of confidence that would happen. I feel like this is a stalling tactic for Glenn Taylor. We saw it. You know, he's waiting to see if maybe these teams bear fruit for a championship. We almost saw it with the Lynx. Lynx almost won a WNBA title. Sour note there. The Timberwolves make it all the way to Western Conference Finals. And Glenn Taylor still holding on. Now, if the Timberwolves had a first round playoff exit and the Lynx were nowhere close to the WNBA finals, I feel like that Glenn Taylor would have sold out in like July or something along those lines. Nowhere even close to how where we currently stand. He's stalling out as long as possible to see if the Timberwolves or the Lynx come out with a title, so that way he can at least lift a trophy as the majority owner and controlling interest for those two franchises before he's like, you know what, I'm good. You know what, you guys can have the rest of the team. As petty as that is, it would not surprise me if Glenn Taylor was doing that.
It wouldn't surprise us, any of us at this point, I feel like. So, Mikey, give us your thoughts on this deal. What do you think?
Yeah, Voldy touched on a lot of points that I wanted to cover too. But like as he said, like I'm not a huge fan of Glenn Taylor. He should have gotten like the deal was signed pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. The money was there. He it's just an egotistical kind of thing. It's an egotistical billionaire kind of thing, right? It's like, oh, I want to be the one to lift the trophy. Oh, I want my name on the Minnesota championship kind of thing. And it's like the public doesn't care. We don't care who it is. We just want to see the trophy come home. That's the whole thing, right? And it's been since, you know, the Alex Rodriguez partnership with everyone coming in that the Wolves have started to turn it around. And that's not by coincidence either, right? The Wolves have had all of these picks to make the team great. And who has been the owner at a lot of the times? Glenn Taylor, you know? And what has he done? Absolutely nothing with it. Absolutely nothing outside of the 2003 season. And then afterwards, he blew up that team pretty much after, 04, 05, because it didn't produce and it was costing him too much money. So I'm excited to hear what this arbitration is. I'm hoping it goes towards the Rodriguez group so that they can have full ownership. People worrying about them moving the team, I don't see that happening. I see them very committed to Minnesota. Minnesota's very committed to the Wolves now with how well they're doing. This isn't some bargain basement team anymore. This is one of the premier teams in the NBA at this point. You have, Edwards, who's amazing. And now, we don't have Towns anymore, but the trade's been working out well for both sides from what it looks like. We also still have Rudy, So I see this as when the arbitration is concluded, or it is concluded. They're just waiting the results. Get the results out of here already. I want Glentaylor gone as fast as possible.
For sure.
Look, and I agree with you too. Like Glenn's like I want my name on this, things like that. But again, we talked about this with Zappon. Just as a reminder, they brought in Tim Conley. They brought in the Gobert trade. Things like that. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. And Glenn just wants, like you said, Voldy, he just wants his name on it, and I firmly believe that.
For sure.
The one thing I will kind of, I don't know if I can, I don't have enough information on this, but at the same time, the Lynx have done quite well too. I mean, because this is all kind of part of this whole thing, and again, that's a testament to Cheryl Reeve, and how well she's been coaching this team and whatnot. But Glenn just needs to get out of his own way. I mean, it's like, well, I put this together. Well, technically, you didn't. I mean, this is more. That's kind of the main thing here. But yeah, I kind of look at this and I say, listen, man, just get it done. Let's be over with this, because I'm sick and tired of this whole thing. And the players and the coaches have kind of put it off to the wayside, as they should, and leave it on the court, even though they lost last night, which sucked. But to Portland, well, that's for another show. But I do want to give a quick reminder before you go, Mikey. Mitch, who's been watching the show here these first couple segments, he says Naz Reid. So acknowledge your tribal chief.
Acknowledge your tribal chief.
That is Naz Reid. I got to get that towel, Voldy. I just got to get that.
It's everywhere. It's international. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It was at the Vikings Jags game. It was awesome.
It'll be on The Simpsons next week. Mark my words.
Yeah.
Naz Reid.
Let's go. It's going to be on Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, all the late night shows. Naz Reid. So.
There are three things certain in life: death, taxes, Naz Reid. Acknowledge your tribal chief.
That is damn right. I love how we close that with Naz Reid. So thank you, Mitch, for chiming in, and we will obviously see him next week. So.
Receiving quality of Mitch Ribby. There you go.
All good fun. Anyway, Mikey, Skol Vikes, we know you got to get rolling here, but mid-season, here we are, and hopefully that we'll be looking at a playoff spot here. So we appreciate you for joining us, and especially with this Wolves talk. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always fun, always a blast. I didn't think the season would turn out 5-2. I'm going to be honest. What was my prediction? I think it was 11-6, 10-7, somewhere around that range. They're playing well. They just got to keep it up, And Sam's got to get out of his own way a lot of the times. We were just talking about Glentaylor getting out of his own way. Sam, get out of your own way. We're gonna be fine.
I love it. All right, Mikey, we'll talk to you later, and we'll be talking on Sunday. So
sounds good. Have a good one.
Later.
Peace. Mikey.
All right, that will do it with Mikey Ryan this week. Always fun having him on talking Vikings and Wolves. That was fun. That was good. Thank you, Mitch, for the Naz Reid. So, what do you got?
I honestly thought Mikey would be a little bit off-put with the conversation, just because I brought up that creative consultant, Mrs. Sarah Ann Tooze, handed Mikey his first loss.
That's right.
Fantasy football. Boom!
That's right. It's true, and it's a good chuckle. And again, set your lineups obviously for all our people, and don't make any stupid trades. Just saying. No offense, Victor. No offense, but that wasn't great. Especially
first pick.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. So, all right. Anyway, absurd or approved, we got a lot to go through with that. We're going to quick touch on the B-Flo conversation you had with Adam Schefter. We're going to talk about the Twins shuffling things up in the ownership and guys going different places, guys moving up, the whole deal. College football playoff committee unveils the rankings, and Sasaki to be posted to MLB. We'll talk about that. And Shane Waldron out as OC with the Chicago Bears. Mitch has been waiting for that one. Anyway, I say we get it going. What's up? Observed or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
We stay in the world of the NFL, specifically with our Minnesota Vikings, as Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, B-Flo, if you will, was on a recent chat with the Adam Schefter podcast this week about quite possibly looking at becoming a head coach once again in the National Football League. Of course, a number of franchises have decided to move on with their current head coaches and are in the interim as it currently stands. Of course, Brian Flores, a former head coach in the National Football League, previously with the Miami Dolphins, longtime assistant with, of course, the New England Patriots, as properly adorned here on the show, and with the Pittsburgh Steelers in years past. But he was quoted as saying, look, there's only 32 of these jobs. I would certainly want to be a head coach in this league again. Now, we've seen the progress of Brian Flores as defensive coordinator, always been a fantastic defensive coordinator in his time previously with New England and, of course, last couple seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, of course, currently based on the performance of the Vikings defense, a very high-performing defense this season, with Brian Flores kind of getting a little bit of a resurgence and being one of the top-performing assistants in the National Football League. You can put him up against the guys of Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, against many others in this league. Is it absurd or approved with B-Flo? Will Brian Flores be an NFL coach next season?
That is a great question. Now, there's a lot of things to factor, and I feel like we've talked about this on the show. The main thing is that I believe that a whole deal with the Dolphins and wrongfully fired and things like that is still going on. So I think there's some hesitancy with organizations going forward if they were to hire Brian Flores. Last year, you could kind of maybe see it, but he didn't get any calls, which is kind of, difficult. I mean, it was his first year in Minnesota,
right?
And he didn't have the guys that he would necessarily want, but he did a great job when all of them were healthy, but then things just kind of went south.
Yep.
I think it's going to depend on how well the Vikings finish the season, or if they, if they unfortunately fall off a cliff or something like that these next few. If they don't, let's just say, and again, I'm not saying this, that they will, knock on wood, if the Vikings don't make the playoffs, then I see him back with Minnesota. If the Vikings do make the playoffs and then make a long run, I see him probably leaving. But I don't want to, say that it's for sure going to happen, because I think there's a lot of things that we need to consider before this would happen. But for the qualifications, he absolutely positively deserves to be a head coach in the NFL again. I think he's definitely learned from his experience in Miami. Now, do I think they let him go too early? Yes. And do I think there was some stuff behind that? I believe him, because B-Flo is a guy that is going to tell you how it is, like it is, the whole deal. Right. He is one hell of a coach. And whatever Tua said about him and everything like that, I think is a little bit ridiculous, because there are different coaches that coach in different ways, right? KOC's kind of like your buddy and whatnot, and but he'll tell you like it is too. But B-Flo is more the guy like, but if you're doing something wrong, I got to show you why, and then if you keep improving, things like that. So, this is so tough because I don't want him to go because he loves.
I don't
being
either.
He loves being here.
B-Flo. I love B-Flo.
He loves being here. He loves the people here and everything like that. It's like if you're the Wolves, all right, what do we got to do to keep you here? Because we love you here, you know. And and I think it doesn't have to be a necessity where necessarily be like, listen, this is only going to be 1 year. I say you offer him a 3-year thing and be like, if you feel it, great. If not, like after the 2, maybe you can have an option out. I don't know how contracts work, but I want him here because he is doing something with this defense that we haven't seen for a while. And, credit to, unfortunately, at this point, because I'm still pissed at him, Mike Zimmer, that, the defense did get fixed for those couple years, and then it fell off a cliff. But at the same time, B-Flo knows what he's doing with defense. So, he is absolutely deserving to be a head coach, and if he decides to leave after this year, I'll be very sad. But at the same time, I would understand because he is a hell of a coach. I'm just gonna say absurd, just because I want him here. I want him here with the Minnesota Vikings. He's doing such great things with this team. I don't want him to go.
Great.
He's so good. He's just awesome. So, and again, he loves it here. And we said it before. So, I'm gonna say absurd because I want him here next season. And having McCarthy, back into the fold and seeing where that goes, and then you can add more in the offseason. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, B-Flo can stay with Minnesota. So, anyway, Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, looking at the whole situation, starting off with the thing in Miami, and one thing you kind of brought up too, especially with KOC versus Brian Flores, you really look at how defensive coaches versus offensive coaches. Defense, it's pretty much, for lack of a better phrase, my way or the highway. But if you're going to go to the highway option, they're going to be more along the lines of like, okay, if you're going to go this way, it better work. Otherwise, I'm going to chew you out and let you know. It's like, well, if you would have stuck with my way, it would have been that way. A little bit hard-nosed, a little bit more, stuck in their ways a little bit. That's the way the defense is. Offense, it's very free-flowing. Hey, what are we going to do here? Hey, what do you think? What do you think about this? Hey, should we try this? That's what you see the difference between offensive and defensive coaches. I can understand the discord with a team that was based off of being a high-flowing offensive team, or at least the very early goings of it with Miami, and a defensive head coach, or at least a head coach that came from a defensive side with Brian Flores. Now, spin that all back around the other way. You've got Brian Flores, second year as defensive coordinator. That's right. It's his second full year as defensive coordinator with
that is
the Vikings.
correct. Yes. Yep.
Look at all the pieces that they brought in this offseason. Grenard, Grugier Hill, you got Cashman, Van Ginkel, all these guys that have been, for lack of another better term, cast-offs at their former places of employment. Miami, Houston, Carolina, coming to this place under that Brian Flores defense. That's a very finesse defense. Of course, they're going to work in the blitz. They're going to drop into coverage. They're going to cover man-to-man. They're going to work the zone on top of it. And seeing that flourish from where we were last year, even the year before Brian Flores, with a very aging defense, trying to work in these young skill guys on the defensive side and not getting a lot of production, to last year, it's like, okay, we've got something going here. We're going to take a few bumps along the way, but we're building off of something to this year where it's completely unprecedented, and just adding to that resume of what he's had previously in his time in Miami, in his time in Pittsburgh, in his time in New England too, and seeing how that's all translated forward. It's hard not to look at Brian Flores and be like, the goods over the bad is outweighing the lesser of the two evils. I would certainly give him a solid look, because we know right now in the interim we've got the Jets and we've got New Orleans, I believe, are the two teams that have interim head coaches right now. Of course, there is going to be the Black Monday, the day after the end of the regular season for the NFL, and how that is going to levy possible new head coaches, see how that all works out. Possibly, I would say maybe another 4 or 5 at the minimum, or maybe even at the most, with new head coaching positions, 4 or 5 additional on top of the Jets and New Orleans. I would definitely see him getting interviewed, but I really, really hope that he doesn't get a head coaching job at least another year. Let's just hope it doesn't fall under the way of, like, say, like Eric Bieniemy, where he's been around so long that it loses its luster and he ends up going somewhere else as another coordinator before ultimately falling to the wayside and becomes a offensive coordinator at college. Let's just hope it doesn't fall to that, because I would love to see Brian Flores as head coach once again. But not right now. Let's at least win a Super Bowl before that happens. Knock on wood there. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. If it does, that'd be completely unprecedented. I think it's absurd. I don't think he'll be a head coach next year.
Again, a lot of bad teams. And then do you really want to rebuild all that stuff during that time too?
Right.
I mean, no. Lucas says he needs to stay. And
does.
We couldn't agree more. B-Flo is the man. I'd love to have him on this show. Wouldn't you? I mean, you like, if he's got time for Schefter, why wouldn't he have time for us? I mean, there's that. And, you know, maybe we can work something out, because we'd love to have him on the show. Ever since they hired him, we were huge fans of it. And we've welcomed him in with open arms. We love B-Flo. We absolutely love B-Flo here in Minnesota. So, yeah, we're all in agreement. All the Vikings fans are all in agreement, which is sometimes hard to find on Twitter, that's for sure. Anyway, let's get to this Twins deal, Voldy.
Yeah, we head to the World Major League Baseball and the Minnesota Twins as they continue to make moves, not in key positions, but behind the scenes, with it being the Twins will promote Derek Falvey, formerly general manager for the Twins, into president of baseball and business operations. Of course, with Dave St. Peter setting to move into a strategic advisor role, meaning that he will step down from his position as president of baseball and business operations to this role that is probably most likely made up for owner's sake. But in that case, now with Derek Falvey stepping away as general manager, Jeremy Zoll will be stepping in as manager as part of the succession plan initiated by Dave St. Peter that did take place, with the P.O.D family now in the process of looking at new ownership for the Twins. Now we've got positional changes for the upcoming season. Of course, we've seen how Dave St. Peter, Derek Falvey, the last few seasons have really missed the mark, if you will, when it comes to initiating big-time moves beyond off-season and making a push towards the back half of the season, if not the back month of the season for the Twins at the trade deadline, coming up short. We won't even talk about the disappointment of the tail end of this previous season. Now we'll also take a look at how the future will play out with the Twins now getting a lot of positional changes in the front office. Now with everything taking place, is it absurd or approved? Will these moves elevate the Minnesota Twins beyond their current status?
No. And the reason why I say that is because they are P.O.D guys. And I don't have any hate for any of them, really. It's because I think they're in a tough situation nonetheless. But at the same time, with all this movement going around, I mean, who was the guy that is going to be GM? Something Toll, Jeremy Toll, whatever his name is. Don't know anything about him. Will he do anything that would be different from what Derek Falvey would do? I have no idea. And it's been pretty apparent to me, and what Falvey has said in his comments recently too, is that, you know, now that we know what the P.O.Ds are going to do, and I mean, this is still, I mean, the Twins are still owned by the P.O.Ds. They haven't sold anything yet. But we need to factor in that these are still P.O.D guys. I don't see these changes being anything different. and especially going into this offseason, like, oh, the Twins are they gonna finally spend money? No, because the Pohlads still own the team. Once they sell the team, and again, I don't know how that all works with baseball and whatnot, but this comes down to a lot of this whole moving around and whatnot. Dave St. Peter, I have a lot of respect for him because he started off as an intern. He's been with the organization for a long time. So I think he's put in a lot of things, a lot of good things, within the Twins organization. But unfortunately, these damn Pohlads have really made things difficult for them in order for them to be successful at said jobs. Now, I did get this news from our Twin source, who will not be named, and he said that the Pohlads have started talking with potential owners.
Ooh.
And he also said that quite possibly, Lori and A-Rod might be in the mix. But the question is that if they're able to get the thing that's going to prevent that is the sale between the Wolves, Lori, and A-Rod, the whole deal there. So we got to factor that in for a second there too. So. It's going to be interesting to see what they do from that, but we'll see what happens as the days go on. I don't see it happening soon. Our Twin source says don't expect anything happen soon, but they have been talking with potential owners, so that is good news. Lucas says that makes me happy. Hopefully, I believe Twins, and then Shield Dad, I love it. And I believe Lucas is going to be a dad as well. I believe I saw on Facebook. So
shout
claps
out
again to him. I believe second, third, I can't remember. I think it's second. But correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas. But congrats to you as well. So, yeah, that's what I got. Shield. Tater, what do you got?
I think looking at the whole situation, I mean, you move all these parts around, but the fact that you got Dave St. Peter somewhat still in the fold on top of Falvey now at a higher elevation. I mean, you look at with baseball and business operations, it's really a step above general manager. I mean, he's not going to be directly involved, but he's still going to have his say in a lot of things. And Zoll is obvious, has previously been, of course, assistant general manager, now going to be general manager. He's been with the Twins at least since I think like 2020 he's been around, and has been quite involved in a few different measures with the Twins and previously in other organizations. I feel like this move really doesn't push the mark in any other direction than just kind of staying pat and staying with everything that has been previously with the Twins. It's very sadly the same of when Terry Ryan was general manager for the Twins. We all know how that's worked out a few different ways. I mean, sure, we had a couple of nice seasons and obviously a couple of nice moves here and there from Terry Ryan, but overall, still not quite the same of what we need to really get this team back in the conversation of how we can, compete at a high level. And if we just continue to, basically promote from within, nothing's really going to change. I think it's good. I think it's absurd for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you question like, whoever they have as owners, are they going to bring in their own people, or is this going to be like, oh, these are our cousins or people we know very well. They don't spend money either, so we're going to screw over everybody. I could see that too. So I don't know. All right, enough about those Twins. Next one, Volde.
Well, we head to the world of college football, where the College Football Playoff Committee unveiled their latest rankings for the college football playoff selection on Tuesday, where the Oregon Ducks, who cruised past Maryland this past week, now to 10-0 on the season, remain at the number one spot in the college football field at number one, followed by Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana. That's right, 4 of the top 5 teams in the Big Ten, and I cringe as I say that. followed by BYU, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami, that's of Florida, Miami of Florida, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia to round out the top 12. Of course, that being the 12-field team playoff for the for the college football playoff coming up this season. Now, really, given the fact that Miami suffered their first loss in the season, Georgia now with 2 losses on the year, quite a significant drop from weeks past where it was even seeing Miami falling to number 9 in the rankings out of the top from round 5, from the number 5 spot, and Georgia dropped all the way down to number 12 even after being ranked number 3 last week. Now we look at the top 4. That's what we're looking at here with the top 4, that being Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State. Now, with those 4 teams at the top of the ladder, of course, it has been in years past the college football playoff, the top 4 make the college football playoff. Is it absurd to approve? Will the top 4 of Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State remain at the top 4 by season's end?
Let me see. No, none of, or I think one's going to drop off. The most likely I feel like that could drop off here is one. I'm just trying to decide. I'm sorry. I want to say Penn State. Let's do Penn State. Because this weekend, the Gophers take on Penn State, and they lost to Rutgers last Saturday. Frickin' Rutgers. Anyway, that's for another time. But I'm going to go Penn State. Penn State kind of, sometimes craps the bed around this time, too. So I wouldn't be surprised. Last time, I believe Penn State played Minnesota, too, at Minnesota, was when the Gophers upset them when they were ranked number 4, and the Gophers went and got her done, as L.A. Knight would say. Yeah. So I'm feeling like Penn State. Let's go with Penn State, Voldy. Texas, I like a lot. I feel like Ewers and what they got going on in Texas, Sarkisian, I think's been doing a great job. I'd like to see Ohio State go down, that's for sure. That would make me very happy as well. No offense to Joe Clements. I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. I'm going to go with Penn State here. I just feel like they're bound to be upset here at some point. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of moving around, shifting, things like that. So it'll be fun. Indiana, man, they've been just amazing these past few games as well. So a lot of good teams around there. So anywho, to answer your question, I thought I answered it, but maybe I didn't. Let me take a look here. No. So I think it's absurd. I think it's going to shift and people are going to lose and it's going to be all goofy, and then all of a sudden they'll be set to go towards the end of the season here. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I don't think the top 4 will remain the same, so we'll get that out of the way. I definitely see Penn State being a team that'll definitely drop because we've seen it all in the past that James Franklin, even at Penn State, can't win the big game, unfortunately. Ohio State, fairly susceptible. They've played a lot of close games as of late, barring the Penn State decided victory. I really I've always said there's 3 teams in college football. When it's good, college football is great. It's USC, Texas, and Miami. Those 4 teams, those 3 teams, I should say, excuse me. For the most part, Miami and Texas, fairly good for sure. USC, they're on a bit of a rebound, I'll say, from that point. As of course, years past, not exactly looking the same. But I could definitely see Indiana sneak its way up into the top 4 if they continue to win, especially being a team that could very well make it to the Big Ten championship game. They've got a couple of tough ones coming up here. We'll really see what they've got in store in the last couple of weeks of the regular season. I don't think the top 4 will remain the same. It really all comes down to the voters. I mean, or I should say the selection committee, because you look at the top 4. I mean, we're talking blue bloods of college football with Oregon, Ohio State, Texas. You throw Penn State in there. Obviously, they used to be independent. Now they're Big Ten. They're still quite a popular enough team that people know well enough to be like, all right, they definitely deserve consideration. But I don't think the top 4 will remain the same by season's end. It's definitely absurd.
It's just crazy, and it gets crazy around this time, too. So there's going to be a lot of upsets happening. So we'll keep an eye on that. But, yeah, a lot of good teams in there. I mean, it's just insane. I hope Boise State makes it. I know that there was them sneaking in with that running back who's been amazing.
Ashton Genty, dude, is a freak.
Vikings.
We've had luck in the past with Boise State running backs.
That's right.
Ian Johnson, Alexander Madison. Hell, just Boise State in general. We had Ezra Cleveland for a hot minute too.
I think that's it. But I'm probably wrong. But we'll have to go back in the archives. But that'd be nice. Anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, we head back to the world of baseball with an international prospect that is definitely going to be worth a serious look at. That being 23-year-old Japanese right-handed pitcher Roki Sasaki. That will be posted by the Chiba Lotte Marines out of the National Japanese Baseball League coming up here for the 2025 season. That being, the Nippon Professional Baseball League, the NPB, if you will, for Japan. Now, the posting system is a method of transfer between Major League Baseball and the NPB that makes him available to all teams in the Major League Baseball system. So basically, a bidding war will take place. There are a number of teams that are highly looking at adding Sasaki to their franchise. Of course, we've seen in years past how the Japanese players, especially Japanese pitchers, have transitioned from the Nippon League into Major League Baseball. Player and pitchers such as, a guy like Shohei Ohtani, Yu Darvish, Masahiro Tanaka, Hiroki Kuroda, even other positional players. A guy like Shohei Ohtani, Masataka Yoshida, a.k.a. the Macho Man for the Boston Red Sox. But this one is definitely a young enough prospect, as we've seen in years past, where we've seen guys in the latter stages of what they would be their professional career. This guy is still fairly young. Sasaki, 23 years old, the monster of the Reiwa era, if you will, who throws a fastball well into the triple digits, which is the sexy number to throw at for pitchers in Major League Baseball. Now, with Sasaki being a high enough prospect and also an international posting from the Nippon Baseball League, is it absurd to approve? Will we see the Minnesota Twins make a push at Sasaki? If not, who will make a push for Sasaki for 2025?
No, they're not. There's no chance.
I just had to throw it out there.
I know, and again, we like taking shots at the Twins, especially with what's going on right now. I had to do that real quick. Anyway, but yes, I believe that it's going to be some team. Obviously, the first team you think, guess who? The Dodgers, right? Yeah. They got the money, they're able to spend it, things like that. But Lucas, who's been chiming in here, he says Mets, ? I think that's a possibility.
Funny
the Mets
money.
Played very well in the playoffs, and no matter what Frank the Tank says from Barstool.
Dude, they're still paying contracts. They're still paying Cespedes, for Pete's sake. Cespedes, Verlander.
Right.
They're paying all these guys to not play on their team. I mean, they're still paying Bobby Bonilla, who hasn't played in 20 years. They're paying Verlander. They're paying Max Scherzer, for Pete's sake. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's funny money. Baseball is funny money when it comes to it. None of it actually exists. I mean, do these guys actually... That's a legitimate question.
Right.
Do these guys actually get paid? Because I would love to know, honestly. Because I remember the old story, whatever. I forget whatever player it was back in the day or whatever. Rookie gets his game check at the end of the season, his season check or whatever for the Twins. And he's just sitting there looking at it. Kirby Puckett comes up and pulls out his wallet and says, "Need me to cash that for you?" That's pretty funny. I forget who the player was. That's like Kirby Puckett comes up, "Need me to cash that for you?" Just pulls out his wallet or whatever and just got just money flying out. Baseball is funny money. These numbers don't actually exist. It won't be too long till we see $1 billion player, honestly.
Lucas says, "I would love to get paid and not play. Sign me up." Yeah, that's true. I mean,
too.
That's for sure.
Pretty sure the Mets still got me under contract, so I'm just saying.
yeah, there you go. Put us under contract. But you talk about that too, and I just recently saw this. When was this? It was kind of recent. But Jesse Ventura's still getting checks from World Wrestling Entertainment because they wanted to unionize, and he got ratted out by Hulk Hogan, and they hate each other.
You keep him quiet.
So Jesse is a very he's very thorough. He's very thorough. So I give him that.
That's my former governor, baby.
Former governor Jesse the Body Ventura. Anyway, let's get back to this baseball thing. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to put in, Dodgers. Obviously, the Yankees probably throw their hat into the ring. Padres, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they don't have money. Whatever. I mean, I feel like this is going to come down to like a Dodgers-Yankees. I mean, if Mets throw in their 2 cents, I mean, it's funny money, like you said. So, to say the least, let's go with the most likely. I'm going with the Dodgers. I think they're just gonna be like, we want to make this a whole dynasty and be better than the Yankees, yada yada yada. So I think they're gonna make a push, and this kid throws in the 3 digits. I mean, this is a big time guy, and too big for the Twins, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, Voldy, any closing thoughts on that?
There are a few different teams that I'd like to throw out. Twins definitely are out of the race for sure. Last time the Twins ended up looking at a guy out of Japan, it was Nishioka, and we all know how that all worked out for the Twins. It worked for a hot minute, and boy, I just look back at that like, what were we thinking? Why couldn't we go for somebody better overall? Looking at the situation, and obviously it's all about connections too. What does Sasaki have in Major League Baseball that would be beneficial? And I'm looking at quite possibly the Padres. Do they have the money? They've invested quite a bit. Tatis Jr., obviously Machado. They've got a fair amount of young guys too. Xander Bogaerts, who's not young by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of big contracts and a lot of dead money coming up. But is Sasaki, willing enough to maybe quite possibly take maybe a pay cut, for lack of another better term, or is he going to go to where he can get his money? And obviously the results don't really matter on top of that. The Mets would be a very interesting one. Him and Kodai Senga would be a really sexy pickup for the Mets that could really use a good shot in the arm in their rotation from that. If I had to pick between my picks, I would definitely say I think the Padres. Padres are definitely a team that wants to fill up a lot of different areas and try to get as much fanfare for sure. And adding a guy like a 23-year-old right-handed pitcher that can hit the triple digits consistently is definitely a sexy enough pickup for the Padres.
Wouldn't surprise me. So. All right, last one, Volde.
Well, we head back to the world of the National Football League, or NFL, not for long. Well, Shane Waldron has been fired as the offensive coordinator less than 10 months after taking the job with the Chicago Bears, as it was announced this week, of course, with head coach Matt Eberflus, making, quote, changes and adjustments for the struggling Bears, who have yet to score an offensive touchdown in the last minimum 2 contests for the Chicago Bears, with quarterback Caleb Williams as a rookie. Now, there have been reports coming out that players for the Bears even lobbied for a benching Caleb Williams on top of Waldron getting the axe as the offensive coordinator. Now, with all these changes taking place, the Bears have not changed offensive coordinators in some time, since 1970, believe it or not. But passing game coordinator Thomas Brown will be promoted as offensive coordinator. Now, we've seen a couple of times with the changes this season alone with the changes internally. We saw it with the Jets with passing game coordinator being elevated to being offensive coordinator. The Jets have been able to put the ball in the end zone a few different times, most recently with the changes over in staff. Now with the Bears that are continued to scuffle, to say the least, just a total of 27 points in the last 3 games, which they have lost in total. Is it absurd or approved with the Chicago Bears? Will this move in firing Shane Waldron, will the Bears be able to score with their offense for the foreseeable future?
I just love how we're previewing this for next week with Mitch. But, yeah, I think it will. But here's the interesting thing, and I just heard this right before the show, that they were thinking of benching Caleb Williams. They were thinking about it. Now, if you bench your first overall pick, that says a lot. And it seems like there's all these rumors about Eberflus has lost the locker room and things like that. I sent you that link, Bleacher Report. They do Gridiron Heights. Oh, that was pretty funny.
Hilarious.
Check that out, by the way. But it's a mess. It's a mess in Chicago right now. But sometimes we see once a coach goes that they have a little bit of a spurt and they play well. Right. But it's quite unfortunate because they do play Green Bay, Mitch's favorite rival, and whatnot. But will it change against the Packers? You better pray to God it does, because if it doesn't, Tyson Bagent, that whole deal with that, it seems like they're just having wide receivers go deep and having Caleb, go from there. They have a makeshift offensive line. Everybody's hurt. They can't run the ball very effectively. Their defense has actually been okay. It's just Caleb's been getting sacked, interceptions. They were terrible against Arizona too. It's really bad. It's really bad in Chicago. So they said, it's a great division. All those teams are good. And the Bears are starting to suck. So it's kind of a bad deal in Chicago. But, yeah, I think they're going to score more points. I give it my stamp of approval. But the quantity won't be a lot, I will say. I think Caleb's kind of wearing out his welcome a little bit too. So, unfortunately, and he's only a rookie. But again, there's still a lot of time. Guys have bad years with their first year too. So I'm not saying this like it's over for the Bears. Their whole future's screwed up. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they need to get the right guy to coach this player, and they couldn't get Cliff Kingsbury. And that was the guy that I think they really needed to get. So that's just my 2 cents. Voldy, wrap it up for us.
I just don't think this is going to be good long-term for the Bears. And what we've seen, a lot of things that continue to be brought up, this will be the 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 seasons for Caleb Williams in his time. And how it's worked in the past for the Chicago Bears with the last 2 quarterbacks, by the 2nd season, 2 different offensive coordinators, head coach gets fired. 2 offensive coordinators, head coach gets fired with Justin Fields and Mitch Trubisky back in the day, too. This is not a good look for the Chicago Bears. I feel with now going to a different offensive coordinator, it's one of those, like, the Bears are a franchise that wants to see results as quickly as possible, especially for how long they have struggled, to say the least. And obviously they haven't won a Super Bowl since '85. They made a Super Bowl appearance, but beyond that, success hasn't really come their way in high longitude since the Jay Cutler era. And even that was for a hot minute in Chicago. With everyone kind of just, throwing Caleb Williams under the bus, me being included too. It's just unfortunate that we have to come to this point where all these changes taking place, and now we're looking at, of course, you fire the offensive coordinator. Now we're going to be looking at firing maybe possibly the head coach by season's end if things don't turn around. Is it going to help them score points? We'll see. I mean, a few things could change here and there. A long run, tail end of the season, I don't think it's going to really help, especially when they play the Vikings in a few weeks and a couple of weeks after that. I'm going to say it's absurd. I don't think it's really going to help in the grand scheme of everything. We could very well see a new head coach in Chicago after this season.
Or soon, too.
Sounds
like there's a lot that's just they don't believe in what he's putting forth. So we'll talk more about it with Mitch next week. So, anywho, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always. We got some Shield shoutouts to get to involving the Vikings and our Granite City Lumberjacks. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for Shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a happy belated birthday, one that I forgot to write down, but just remembered here in recent minutes. Happy belated birthday to Jim Vold, that being Jimbo, turning the big 6-0 on Monday. Jimbo celebrating a birthday by, well, working hard as always, but definitely got to spend the time with at least one of his grandsons for a short stretch. So happy belated birthday. I did get to see him, so wished him happy birthday in person to Jimbo. So happy belated birthday to him. And also Shield shout out to a Vikings kicker, John Parker, classic Romo, for going 4-for-4 in his debut, not only for the Minnesota Vikings, but his NFL debut to help the Vikings beat Jacksonville on Sunday.
Classic
and finally,
Romo.
There we go.
You're welcome.
I knew you were going to throw that in there at some point. And of course, rounding off Shield shoutouts this week to the Granite City Lumberjacks, Seth Terrell, the Terror, and being called up this week to the NAHL's Aberdeen Wings. So hopefully he does a great there for the Aberdeen Wings, and great start for him in his career. 13 games, 19 points in his tenure with Granite City. You hope that he does well at the next level, but at the same point, you just like, oh, why could we keep him for the whole season? But hopefully Seth does great for his time, obviously, in Aberdeen, and hopefully great things in the future. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Yes, well said, and congratulations to him. And John Parker, not Tony Romo, and I got to do this.
Classic Romo.
It's back. It's back. We might as well bring it back for this this occasion. So I'm moving it up our soundboard list. So yeah, great job with Shield shoutouts this week, Voldy, and Tate is out like a light. So well done as well with that. And yeah, guys, pick 'em. You know the deal. This week, guys, you're fighting for a Percy Harvin jersey, baby. Yes. It's awesome, man. These Reeboks are just sweet. So you're playing for a jersey, a free jersey. Now, if you are a Packer fan, if you are a Lion fan, if you're a Bear fan, whatever else, NFL fan, you're still getting it. It's tough. Tough luck. Give it to your friend that's a Viking fan. We're giving you free stuff. This is great stuff, too. So with that being said, get those picks in, set those lineups, the whole deal. We got the merch, sweatpants. We got the quarter zips. We got the shirts. We got the stickers. We got the hats and everything like that. Make sure you get those, especially the winter caps. It's getting cold out there, guys. It's getting really cold out there. So get your quarter zips, hats, the whole deal. And then, guys, make sure you check out W2 Performance with our guy, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson. Make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. And remember, for Pick'em, they will be giving out signed Helmets, mini helmets, Drake London, Terrell Davis. Why do I keep blanking on that third one? Drake. Did I say Drake London? Oh, Brees Hall.
Okay, Brees Hall. Okay. Yep.
Brees Hall.
That's the only one I can remember. I always get tripped up on Drake London, so I'm glad you remember.
Yeah. So I guess
I want that Brees Hall. I want the Brees Hall.
That'd be sweet. So a lot going on with the standings up there, and then make sure you check out our guy TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr. Obviously doing awesome stuff. And then make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne Myhrberg, the Rhino, our guy, Omni Entertainment. Make sure you check those guys out. Episodes coming each week. So, with that being said, that's going to do it for episode 215. Skol Vikes, roll the boat, Ski-U-Mah, go Gophers. It's going to be a tough one against Penn State. They're on bye this week, and then it's Penn State, I believe. Right?
Is it?
I think so. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway, so maybe until then we'll say it again. But go Wolves, go Wilds, the whole deal. So anyway, that's going to do it. So without further ado, remember, as always, folks, keep it in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.